Hey, shalom everyone. Today we'll talk about walls the way they were then and also how it can apply even to today's um, cities and neighborhoods. So this is an actual wall that they excavated in Israel just across the street from Beit Shemesh. I'm not sure if they know what the name of the place was, but near Beit Shemesh is mentioned that Torah is there, and now we have Kibbutz Torah, which of course is not like this. Um, and other places, but and this is Shiloh where my cousin lives. So we're going to, besides having the fence, which they have for security purposes, according to Halacha, we're going to learn that just the fact that there's such a steep slope uh, is uh, is enough as of an eruv in terms of making the whole place secluded as a semi-private place. And one of the things that I don't want to mix politics, but one of the things that the people, the settlers, always said was that on the top of the mountains, most people didn't live because you can't catch the rainwater quickly enough, and so they would live actually down the slope, closer to the valley. In most places, and so the tops of the mountains were actually completely desolate. The Torah tells us many times Al Har HaGavoa V'Tachat Kol Etz V'Anan. In order to keep a tree growing and alive at the top of the mountain, it has to be tended to. And so the people who did idol worship would sometimes find the tallest mountain in the area and would build a house there which was serving as a temple for their god. And there would be a tree next to it. And until today, you can find some of these places. The temple, of course, is ruined, but the trees are still there because they were planted and tended to for many, many years until they were strong enough to remain that way. And just one more picture. Um, so this place is called Tel Azekah. And you can see here that this was actually an underground cistern that they used. But again, this whole slope is steep enough to be considered like the kosher eruv, and they wouldn't have needed a wall or a fence. And in those days, anyway, they didn't have fences like we have today. But so let's share now the halacha. So a fence that is 10 tfachim high, so 10 tfachim is approximately 80 centimeters according to the Chazon Ish, which is almost 3 feet. Um, so is considered a bona fide wall and is effective in transforming even a Reshut Rabim by Torah law into a Reshut Yachid, as explained above. Even a chain link fence is acceptable for this purpose, as long as each of the spaces between the wires is less than 3 tfachim, which is almost 10 inches, and I've never seen a chain link wire that has such gigantic spaces. It's like you can put three. Tefach literally means a fist of a person, so you can put 3 fists through that hole. I don't think so. I always manage to maybe put one, but not definitely not that kind of width. So the fence is considered continuous, and it can transform even a Reshut Rabim by Torah law into a Reshut Yachid. If a fence or series of Tzurat Petach encloses an area but has gaps in the perimeter, as long as each gap is less than 10 amot, and we said yesterday approximately 15 feet wide, and the combined width of all the gaps on any side of the perimeter is less than the combined length of the fence or Tzurat Petach on that side, the eruv is kosher. So it's basically the idea of the pirza, the breach, and I think Moseson in his book in 1989 wrote that breach in English comes from the parrots in Hebrew. So as long as there isn't a wider space than the actual length of the whole fence, and it's kosher because that way you can see the wall. So in contrast, if the unfenced section of any side of the city is longer than the fenced section on that side, or if there is a gap anywhere that is longer than 10 amot, the eruv is invalid. If one side of the city consists of houses with yards enclosed by fences, with open space between the yards, if the distance between each yard is less than 15 feet and the width of each yard is greater than 10 amot, then there is no need to enclose that side any further with a wall or turat petach. The fences surrounding the yards are considered walls, and the gaps of less than 10 amot do not disqualify them. If a city, oops, if a city is enclosed by a garden with terraces at least 10 tfachim high, so one of the ways of growing things in the past was to make terraces. I think even today in China and other places where they grow rice, that's how they do it. So it's basically a flat land and then a fall and then another flat land, and each one is actually supported by a wall of stones. If only a part of the city is enclosed by a terrace, then that part needs no additional wall. If one side of the city is built on a hill, like we just saw in the pictures, then if the hill is steep enough that it declines 10 tfachim, 76 centimeters, or 2.5 feet, every 4 horizontal amot, it renders everything above the slope Reshut Yachid. The sages refer to such a hill as TEL mitlaket. Literally, TEL means ruins or mountain or hill. Mitlaket from the word leket, which means to collect. So it's each one of these small hills is collected to make a wall where it would be hard for somebody to climb up with their full gear to attack. But still, we have fences today, but just in terms of what Tel Mitlaket was, and it is considered a bona fide wall. There's also some trigonometry involved in this, but I failed math in high school, so and because of the trigonometry, so then afterwards I did my Bagrut in math without the trigonometry and passed. So if a town is surrounded by a fence and the gate at the entrance road is wider than 10 amot, then as long as the gate will be closed at night, the eruv is valid even when the gate is open. And we mentioned, if you remember, that we said that if somebody has to go to the hospital or an ambulance coming or going, or if it's an army base, sometimes vehicles do come in on Shabbat and leave, then as long as it's closed at night, it is a valid wall. However, if the gate is generally left open at night, or if it merely serves as a barrier or a boom gate, which even when closed is not a proper wall, Tzurat Petach should be erected above the gate. And I'm not really sure how to do that because you would have to still make sure that there's a pole less than 10 amot from each other, as we learned yesterday, but maybe they're going according to the more lenient opinion, which was that even if it's wider than 10 amot, as long as you can see the string and the lechi, it's valid. And so we'll stop here and open up for questions.